Good afternoon and welcome to Across the Fence. I'm Jolie Whitney. According to the Vermont chapter of the Alzheimer's Association, it's estimated that by next year, 2025, 17,000 Vermonters 65 years and older will be living with Alzheimer's disease or another form of dementia. That's up 30% from when that data was collected in 2020. What's left out of these numbers are the family members and friends who provide care for people experiencing dementia. Today, our focus is on caring for the caregivers. Joining me are McKenna, a licensed independent clinical social worker with UVMMC's Dementia Family Caregiving Center, and she's also a member of the Vermont Bridge team. We'll hear more about that in a moment. Sara Levesque is pursuing her master's degree in social work. She's an intern at the Center for Aging and Bittner Center for Parkinson's Disease and Movement Disorders. And for you female, or the women's Catamount hockey team, of course, they'll recognize you from that. You play defense on that team, if I'm right. Not to, not to mention another activity of yours. And we're going to talk in a second about the Dementia Family Caregiver Center. But first, can you just walk me through what happens when somebody's diagnosed with dementia, Lori?
I can, and just to preface that with, there is not a one-size-fits-all of an answer for that question, but it depends on the entry point. Sometimes people are identified or diagnosed with dementia through their annual wellness visit with their primary care physician. Sometimes primary care physicians will want to make a referral for a more complicated case to for a neurological evaluation, neuropsych evaluation through a specialist. And sometimes there are certainly people that don't ever get diagnosed, that family members may say, well, my grandmother had cognitive changes, so this is more of the same. So there is certainly a population of people that are never diagnosed. But hopefully, if someone is able to receive a diagnosis, an early diagnosis can really help someone set the stage for beginning future care planning. So that's an important component. And there is a slew of different reactions that people may have with a diagnosis. Some people may be relieved. Some people may be, very upset by that and experience grief and loss. And some people move very quickly into wanting to gather lots and lots of resources.
And to talk a little bit about those resources, it doesn't sound like there's just a total list of everything available for people who are suffering from dementia. Can that be frustrating for caregivers and people with dementia?
Yeah, so there is not like a centralized pocket of information, if you will. There are certainly agencies in the state that have done a really wonderful job in creating resource lists and helping people to navigate that. But there has not to date been a centralized place for that information. And it can be very frustrating. We often hear from caregivers that they will go from one agency and then perhaps get referred to another agency and then perhaps referred somewhere else. And sometimes people get frustrated and they give up. And that's where we want to intervene. We want to really help people to navigate the system with more ease.
And the clients and caregivers you're working with, what are they usually looking for in the way of resources?
They're looking for validation. They're looking for hope. They're looking for resources to support them. They are looking for future care planning and counseling and respite. They're looking for lots and lots and lots of things. But mostly, I would say very often they're looking for resources and information.
And has that been your experience as well?
Yes, I would say the same thing as well. Through my internship with the Bittner Center, Parkinson's Disease and Movement Disorder, and the Center on Aging too. So I get to practice both clinical and research-based policy practice, but it's been the same. Sometimes looking for resources, just validation, like Lori said, anything really that can provide them more information to better assist their loved ones or the person that they're caring for. Those are common for caregivers and family members.
Absolutely, and that actually leads us into the UVMMC Dementia Family Caregiver Center. Can you tell me about what the goal of that program is?
Yeah, so we are absolutely delighted that we have just been funded. We were funded in October of this year by the medical center, who really recognized the aging population and the ensuing issues that will come with more and more people aging in Vermont. And the primary goal of the Dementia Family Caregiver Center is to serve as a gateway for resources and referrals. So family members that want to have kind of a place where they can go to learn about existing services. So we're not recreating services in the state, but we want to be a pathway, if you will, for people to find their way to resources. And that's one of the primary things, as well as offering some evidence-based programming, which we are also doing and then developing.
So a resource to find resources, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so where is it located so far?
So we're at the medical center. We are part of the neurology department, and at this point we are virtual. So yeah, that's where we are, in neurology.
Ooh, excuse me. And what kind of clients are you serving?
Family caregivers, people generally anyone in Vermont that would or could call us with a question on behalf of someone else. We're certainly available for that, but we are serving the state of Vermont and also upstate New York.
Okay, and Sara, let's talk a little bit about your work. You're getting your master's in social work, if I'm right?
That's correct.
And you work with the DFCC. Can you tell me a little bit about what you've learned about the people you're working with there?
Yes, so it's a fairly new program, like Lori said, that's something super exciting. So I think what I'm learning is that the Dementia Family Caregiver Center is tremendously important and will have a vital role in the community, and also for older Vermonters as well, to provide better services and support for them. Those statistics that you mentioned earlier, 17,000 of people are predicted to be living with Alzheimer's or dementia, and 19,000 of unpaid caregivers. So I think the need is there, and so that's why it's it's great timing for the Dementia Family Caregiver Center to be implemented. And so for social workers like me too, we're super attentive to the need of others and the larger population, and so to be able to advocate and raise awareness and education around issues like dementia and Alzheimer's and other neurological disease, I think it's something that Lori and I and other collaborators are super excited, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lori, this is a question for you, but you might be able to speak on it as well, Sara. Can you tell me a little bit about the specifics of services you offer, maybe an example?
Yeah, so there are 4 things that we're offering. As I just mentioned, resource and referral is one. The second area of focus is a program called the Vermont Carers Program. This is a program that was developed in Canada from the Reitman Center, Mount Sinai. The Carers Program is a therapeutic intervention that supports family caregivers, offers them skills to address caregiver burden and address the psychological burden of or behaviors that can be associated with caregiving with people with dementia. The third thing that we've developed is called a peer-to-peer mentoring program, in which we have matched a caregiver with lived experience with a caregiver who is new to caregiving, and it's a 6-month commitment with coaching. So the program is really a volunteer program. It is an extension of the healthcare system, if you will, but it is a one-on-one mentoring program. And then the fourth thing that we are pretty passionate about is workforce development in the state. So we recognize the need for more providers to be working with older persons, and Sara's going to talk about that program.
Okay, and can you expand a little bit on what VT Bridge is?
Yeah, sure. So Vermont Bridges is my internship. So pretty much it's a cohort model of 3 students, 1 second-year Master of Social Work student and 2 first year. And yeah, Vermont Bridges is an acronym. It stands for Vermont Broadening Resources in Developing Gerontological and Education in Social Work. And so like Lori said, it is really to improve, to increase the workforce shortage and to increase and retain and educate social work students to be wanting to work in the field of aging and to become a geriatric social worker, and something that I've been really passionate about my whole life from my lived experiences. But yeah, that's Vermont Bridges is really focusing on improving the workforce, and also consequently, if we have an increase in the current workforce, we would be better able to serve older Vermonters and provide better support and resources.
And you've said before you're working with VT Bridges a lot. Can you tell me about how your experience has been? Yeah,
it's been wonderful. Like I said, Vermont Bridges is the cohort model. All 3 students are placed at a different field placement. So one student is at Agewell, the other one at Dale, which is the Department of Aging and Independent Living, and myself, I'm with the Binter Center and the Center on Aging. And it's something that this experience that I'm getting is tremendously impactful and exponential. To be working alongside Lori and leaders in the field of aging, it's super beneficial, and so I feel super fortunate and grateful to be learning alongside them.
And of course, you're a master's student, and so what does this experience with Vermont Bridges mean for your career after school?
Yeah, I'm hoping that I can stay in Vermont and for sure find the mission of Vermont Bridges is also to retain students and hopefully for them to be working in the field of aging. So for me, that's exactly what I want it to be like. I'm hoping that after I graduate with a Master in Social Work that I can be working in the field of aging and as a social worker, whether it's at the medical center or elsewhere. I would be thrilled, but it's what I'm hoping for sure.
Absolutely.
We're hoping for that too. We very much want to keep her.
And before we wrap up, obviously DFCC is still kind of ramping up, but where do you hope to see yourself and the program in 3 or 4 years?
I hope we grow. I think we will grow. I don't know why we wouldn't grow. I also, my vision is that more and more and more people will know about these services. And when I say people, I'm also talking about providers providers who may feel stuck with one of their patients would, think pretty readily to pick up the phone or send us an in-basket message and let us know that they could use some resources or information. And that's my hope, that we're more widely known and that we grow to serve all of Vermont, not just Chittenden County, which is resource rich, relatively speaking, but also all of the more rural parts of the state where people aren't being served.
Absolutely. Thank you both so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
That takes care of another visit across the fence. Thank you to the crew behind the scenes here at WCAX who make this program possible. I'm Jolie Whitney. Have a good one.